secrets then? Got any more?
I don't know. I have got a bit of a sneaky secret actually.
Spill the beans.
One of my things I do is I always sample the drums when I'm recording. And
So you get the guys to play individual hits?
I get them to play the individual hits, and I will 90% of the time actually replace the kick drum with that kick drum sample.
Right.
Through the whole song. I have like a loud velocity and a medium velocity. I just really like the really tight, solid bottom end.
The consistency.
The consistency, yeah. Which you can kind of get from compression.
Yeah.
But if the drummer's a bad drummer, it's much, I don't know, you just get a better sound that way.
Yeah. And what do you use to trigger it? Do you do that in software with?
I basically cut and paste it through and I move it to the sample. So I line it up with the original one. And yeah, that's probably, yeah, I mean, I'd prefer to do that than rely on using a different sample, because I kind of like the sound that I get from the drums already.
Yes.
So rather than just going, well, that's a great sound, but I can just throw some other samples on, I'll use my own samples.
And that's just to get the even volume.
That's just to get the evenness, yeah. For rock, you know.
Yeah.
And I'll do a similar thing with the toms. You know, if there's a tom pattern where it's playing like 8 bars, I'll put a sample of the same velocity that I recorded on the end of the tom, so you get the toms nice and loud, but you don't have all the cymbals and crap.
Right.
You know, like bleeding through.
Yeah. Yeah,
because there's always all that stuff going on, rumbling along, and yeah.
So it's a way of getting more separation.
It's a way of getting more separation and getting it tighter the closer. Yeah. I very rarely do it with the snare, you know, because the snare is very important that it sort of sounds different. If you put a sample in every time, it sounds a bit.
Yeah, I suppose it depends on the style of drumming, but you get those where they're bouncing it a little bit, and you never, and you lose all those, don't you then? But I guess it's kind of a way of gating it almost without using a gate, because you've kind of got rid of all the crap.
Exactly. Yeah, and you can kind of tailor how much when you record the sample, you can fade it so there's just enough bottom end so it fades out without being too rumbly for the song.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So you can have quite a large sounding kick drum that fades off.
And then you kind of shorten it.
And you shorten it
on the sample.
Yeah.
Right. So what does that influence when you're setting up the drum sound? Do you then tend to have a slightly longer ringing bass drum than you might otherwise?
Not really. No. I don't really think about doing the sampling until I just try and get a good drum sound first. That's focus on what's the most important thing, and that's getting a good drum sound.
Yeah.
There's some songs that don't require it, especially if there's a lot of building in the bass drum pattern. But if it's straight ahead rock, just cut and paste it in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't think that takes any of the life away from the natural breathing of what the drummer's doing?
If it does, I won't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if it's like rock,
Yeah.
I mean, there might be the verses might be quieter, so I put in maybe a medium. Medium sort of hit sample. If the chorus is, I have a harder sample. Or if there's points in the song where I'm feeling it's not quite working, I just won't have the sample in those points.
Right. Yeah. I guess if it's a more complicated pattern.
Say if the kick drum's building up, it's getting harder and harder, I'll put the original part in there, but on the last beat, put the big one. Yeah.
And then when you get those little double hits and things.
Well, that's what I'm trying to get rid of. That's where it all started from, because drummers would be sort of hitting the kick drum, but in between they'll be sort of tapping, and it would just annoy the shit out of me, because you get all this low end rumbling, and so that's kind of where that all stems from.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's a good trip. I like that one. We like that one.